Are you tired of dealing with people who leave you feeling confused, manipulated, and uncertain? Do you feel like you're walking on eggshells around them, never knowing what is real and what is not? If so, you are not alone. In this video, we will uncover the 5 dark traits of personality that may indicate you are dealing with an evil person. These traits are not just bad habits or personal quirks. They are deep-seated patterns of behavior that can cause significant harm to you and others. We will explore these traits through the lens of ancient philosophy, drawing wisdom from thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and others who have studied human nature for centuries. By understanding these traits, you will be better equipped to recognize toxic individuals in your life and protect yourself from their harm. So, whether you're dealing with a manipulative coworker, a deceitful friend, or an abusive romantic partner, this video will provide you with the tools you need to understand their behavior and safeguard yourself. Get ready to journey into the dark side of human nature and gain insight into how to handle toxic people in your life. If you liked this video or found it useful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your family and friends, and write "keep it up" in the comments below. Lesson 1. Charm and Charisma as Deception, Peeling Back the Mask of Evil. Hey there, fellow truth seekers. Today we're diving deep into a topic that's both fascinating and a little unsettling: how some people use charm and charisma to deceive and manipulate others. Think of it like this. You meet someone new and they're absolutely magnetic. They've got that sparkle in their eye, a way of making you feel like the most important person in the room. They're funny, engaging, and seem genuinely interested in your life. It's easy to get swept up in their charm, thinking you've found a real gem of a person. But hold on a minute. The ancient Stoics, those wise philosophers from way back when, taught us to look beyond the surface and seek the truth through reason and observation. They knew that appearances can be deceiving, and that sometimes the most charming people can also be the most dangerous. The Stoic lens, seeing through the illusion. The Stoics weren't about getting caught up in the hype. They were all about keeping it real, using their powers of observation and rational thought to see through the BS. Think of them as the original fact-checkers, always questioning, always digging deeper. One of the key Stoic principles is apatheia, which is all about staying cool, calm, and collected, no matter what life throws your way. It's like having an emotional shield that protects you from getting swept up in the drama. When you practice apatheia, you're less likely to be blinded by someone's charm and more likely to see their true colors. So, how do you apply this Stoic wisdom to real life? Let's say you're at a party and you meet this super charismatic person. They're telling jokes, making everyone laugh, and you're totally drawn in. But as the night goes on, you notice something's off. They interrupt you, talk over you, and always manage to steer the conversation back to themselves. It's like they're the main character in their own movie, and everyone else is just an extra. Red flags, when charm turns sour. This is where those Stoic alarm bells should start ringing. It's not just about them being a bit self-centered. It's about them lacking genuine interest in others. A truly kind and compassionate person wants to hear your stories, your thoughts, your dreams. They don't just use you as a sounding board for their own ego. Another red flag is how they react when things don't go their way. Do they throw a tantrum? Get passive-aggressive? Try to manipulate the situation to regain control? These are not the actions of a person who's truly secure and confident. The Stoics would say these are signs of a weak character, someone who's easily thrown off balance when they don't get what they want. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, was a big fan of observing people's behavior. He'd say, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, actions speak louder than words. So, pay attention to how this charming person treats others, especially those they perceive as lesser than them. Do they gossip, belittle, show a lack of respect? These are all signs that their charm might just be a mask they wear to hide their true nature. Modern-day examples, charm gone wrong. Let's bring this into the 21st century. Think about those social media influencers who seem to have the perfect life. They're always smiling, always traveling, always surrounded by beautiful people. But behind the scenes, they might be struggling with anxiety, depression, or just plain old insecurity. Their charm is a carefully constructed facade, designed to attract followers and sponsorships, not to build genuine connections. Or consider that co-worker who always knows how to butter up the boss. They're always the first to volunteer for projects, always have a compliment ready, and always seem to be in the right place at the right time. But when it comes to actual work, they're often unreliable, taking credit for others' ideas and leaving their colleagues to clean up their messes. Their charm is a tool they use to get ahead, not to contribute to a positive work environment. Protecting yourself, the Stoic way. So, how do you protect yourself from these charming chameleons? The Stoics have some advice for that too. First, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore those red flags just because someone is charming or charismatic. Second, take your time. Don't rush into friendships or relationships with people you barely know. Observe their behavior over time and see how they treat others. Remember, true character reveals itself in the long run, not in the first few dazzling encounters. Third, set boundaries. You don't have to be friends with everyone, and you certainly don't have to tolerate disrespectful or manipulative behavior. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature, and that includes setting healthy boundaries to protect your own well-being. The bottom line, be your own Stoic hero. Remember, you are the main character in your own story. Don't let anyone else write your script or dictate your actions. Be discerning, be wise, and be your own Stoic hero. By staying true to your values and using your powers of observation and reason, you can navigate the tricky waters of human interaction with grace and resilience. And hey, if you find yourself getting caught up in someone's charm, take a step back, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this person really who they seem to be? If the answer is no, don't be afraid to walk away. There are plenty of genuinely kind, compassionate, and trustworthy people out there who will appreciate you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. So, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your heart protected. And remember, the Stoics had your back over 2,000 years ago, and their wisdom still holds true today. If you liked this video or found it useful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your family and friends, and write "Keep it up" in the comments below. Lesson 2. Lack of empathy, the heartless hallmark of evil. Hey, awesome people! Let's talk about something that's super important in our relationships and interactions with others: empathy. You know, that ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to feel what they're feeling, to understand where they're coming from. It's like having a superpower that lets you connect with others on a deeper level. But here's the thing, not everyone has this superpower. In fact, some people seem to be completely devoid of empathy. They just don't care about how their actions or words affect others. And let me tell you, That's a major red flag. It's like a neon sign flashing, "Danger, evil person ahead." The Stoic take on compassion and connection. The Stoics, those wise folks from ancient times, were all about living a virtuous life. They believed that compassion and understanding were key ingredients in that recipe for a good life. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, often talked about how we're all connected, like threads in a giant cosmic tapestry. He believed that caring for others was not just a nice thing to do, but an essential part of our own well-being. So, when we encounter someone who seems to have a heart of stone, who shows zero concern for the feelings of others, it's a big deal. It's like they're missing a fundamental piece of what it means to be human. Real-life examples. When empathy goes. My tea. Let's bring this down to earth with some real-life examples. Imagine you're going through a tough time and you confide in a friend, hoping for a shoulder to cry on or a listening ear. But instead of offering comfort or support, they brush you off, change the subject, or even make fun of you for being vulnerable. Ouch, that's a serious lack of empathy right there. Or think about that boss who treats their employees like robots. They demand long hours, impossible deadlines, and never show any appreciation for the hard work their team puts in. They might even publicly humiliate employees for minor mistakes, creating a toxic work environment where everyone feels stressed and undervalued. This kind of behavior is not just bad management, it's a sign of a leader who lacks basic human decency. But it's not just about the big dramatic situations. A lack of empathy can show up in smaller everyday interactions too. Think about that friend who always interrupts you to talk about themselves, or the family member who never asks how you're doing, or the co-worker who takes credit for your ideas. These might seem like minor annoyances, but they're actually symptoms of a deeper problem. The ripple effect. How lack of empathy harms us all. The Stoics would say that a lack of empathy is not just a personal flaw, it's a societal problem. When people don't care about how their actions affect others, it creates a ripple effect of negativity. It can lead to broken relationships, toxic workplaces, and even violence. Think about those online trolls who spew hate and vitriol without a second thought about the pain they're causing. Or those bullies who torment their classmates, leaving them feeling worthless and alone. These are not just isolated incidents. They're part of a larger pattern of behavior that stems from a lack of empathy. But it's not all doom and gloom. The Stoics also believed in the power of our own choices. We can't control how others behave, but we can control how we respond. We can choose to cultivate empathy in ourselves and in our communities. We can choose to stand up to those who lack empathy and demand better treatment for ourselves and others. Modern-day Stoicism, finding your empathetic groove. So, how do we do this? How do we become more empathetic people in a world that often seems to reward selfishness and cruelty? Here are a few tips inspired by the Stoics. 1. Practice active listening. When someone is talking to you, really listen. Put away your phone, make eye contact, and try to understand their perspective. Ask questions, show interest, and validate their feelings. 2. Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine what it would be like to be in their situation. What challenges are they facing? What emotions are they experiencing? This can help you develop a deeper understanding of their perspective. 3. Challenge your assumptions. We all have biases and preconceived notions about others, but these can cloud our judgment and prevent us from seeing the full picture. Try to be open-minded and challenge your assumptions about people. 4. Show compassion. Even if you don't agree with someone's actions or beliefs, you can still show them compassion. Remember, everyone is fighting their own battles, and a little kindness can go a long way. 5. Set boundaries. It's important to be kind and compassionate, but it's also important to protect yourself. If someone is consistently treating you poorly, it's okay to distance yourself from them. You don't have to tolerate toxic behavior. Remember, empathy is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It takes courage to open your heart to others, to feel their pain, and to share their joy. But it's also one of the most rewarding things you can do. By cultivating empathy, you're not just making the world a better place for others, you're making it a better place for yourself too. The Stoic challenge: embrace empathy, reject evil. So let's make a pact, shall we? Let's challenge ourselves to be more empathetic, more compassionate, and more understanding. Let's reject the heartless behavior that seems to be so prevalent in our world, and let's strive to create a more loving and connected community. Remember, the Stoics believed that we all have the potential for good within us. It's up to us to cultivate that potential, to choose empathy over apathy, and to live a life that's guided by wisdom, compassion, and courage. So, go out there and be the change you want to see in the world. Your heart and the hearts of those around you will thank you for it. If you liked this video or found it useful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your family and friends, and write "keep it up" in the comments below. Lesson 3: Manipulation, the Puppet Master's Playbook. Hey, lovely people. Let's talk about something that can be super sneaky and damaging in our relationships: manipulation. You know, when someone tries to control or influence you in a way that benefits them, often at your expense. It's like they're trying to pull your strings, making you dance to their tune. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about living a virtuous life, had a lot to say about manipulation. They saw it as a major threat to our freedom and well-being. They believed that we should strive to see things clearly, to think for ourselves, and to make decisions based on our own values, not the whims of others. The Stoic stance: clarity, freedom, and virtue. The Stoics were big on clarity of thought. They believed that we should see the world as it really is, not how we want it to be, or how someone else wants us to see it. They taught that we should be masters of our own minds, not puppets controlled by the manipulations of others. One of the key Stoic principles is prohairesis, which is all about our ability to make choices. The Stoics believed that we have the power to choose how we respond to external events, even when those events are unpleasant or challenging. This means that even when someone tries to manipulate us, we have the power to resist their influence and make our own decisions. Manipulation. Unveiled: the sneaky tactics. So, how does manipulation work? It's not always obvious. Manipulators are often skilled at disguising their tactics, making them seem like they're acting in your best interest. But underneath the surface, they're pulling strings, trying to get you to do what they want. One common tactic is gaslighting. This is when someone tries to make you doubt your own sanity or perception of reality. They might deny things that you know happened, or they might twist your words to make you feel like you're the one who's wrong. It's like they're trying to rewrite history to fit their own narrative. Another tactic is guilt-tripping. This is when someone tries to make you feel responsible for their happiness or well-being. They might say things like, "If you really loved me, you would do this for me," or "I'm so disappointed in you for not meeting my expectations." This can make you feel obligated to do things you don't want to do, just to avoid their disapproval. Manipulators might also use flattery or charm to get their way. They might shower you with compliments and attention, making you feel special and valued. But beware, this is often a ploy to lower your guard and make you more susceptible to their influence. Real-world manipulation, spotting the signs. Let's take a look at some real-world examples of manipulation. Have you ever had a friend who always seems to need your help, but is never there for you in return? Or a partner who constantly criticizes you, making you feel like you're not good enough? Or a family member who uses guilt to get you to do what they want? These are all classic signs of manipulation, but manipulation isn't just limited to personal relationships. It can also happen in the workplace. Think about that boss who takes credit for your ideas, or the co-worker who throws you under the bus to make themselves look better. These people are using manipulation to get ahead, even if it means stepping on others to do it. The Stoic response: reclaiming your power. So, how do you deal with manipulators? The Stoics have some wisdom for that too. First, recognize that you are not responsible for other people's emotions or happiness. You can't control how they feel, but you can control how you react to them. Second, set boundaries. Let the manipulator know what you will and will not tolerate. Be firm, assertive, and consistent. Don't let them guilt-trip you or make you feel like you're the bad guy for standing up for yourself. Third, don't engage in their games. If someone is trying to gaslight you, don't argue with them or try to prove them wrong. Simply state your truth and move on. If someone is trying to guilt-trip you, don't give in to their demands. Explain your position calmly and rationally, and then let it go. Modern Stoicism, empowering yourself against manipulation. In today's world, manipulation can be even more insidious. We're bombarded with messages from advertisers, politicians, and even social media influencers who are trying to manipulate our thoughts and behaviors. But by applying Stoic principles, we can become more aware of these tactics and resist their influence. For example, when you see an ad that's trying to make you feel insecure about your appearance, remind yourself that your worth is not determined by your looks. When you hear a politician using fear-mongering to get your vote, remember that you have the power to think for yourself and make informed decisions. The Stoic challenge: embrace authenticity, reject manipulation. So, let's make a commitment to ourselves, shall we? Let's strive to be more authentic, more genuine, and more resistant to manipulation. Let's choose to live our lives according to our own values, not the values that others try to impose on us. Remember, the Stoics believed that we all have the potential for greatness within us. But that potential can only be realized when we're free to think for ourselves, to make our own choices, and to live our lives with integrity. So, let's embrace our inner Stoic and say no to manipulation. Lesson 4. Controlling Behavior, the Iron Grip of Evil. Hey there, wonderful people. Today we're shining a light on a behavior that can be incredibly toxic and damaging in relationships: controlling behavior. This isn't just about someone having strong preferences or being a bit particular. It's about a deep-seated need to dominate and control every aspect of your life, leaving you feeling suffocated and powerless. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about living a virtuous and self-directed life, would have a serious issue with this kind of behavior. They believed in personal freedom, self-discipline, and the ability to make choices based on reason and wisdom. Controlling behavior, in their eyes, is a direct assault on these fundamental principles. The Stoic perspective: freedom, autonomy, and self-mastery. The Stoics were big on personal freedom. They believed that we should strive to be masters of our own destiny, not puppets controlled by the whims of others. They taught that we have the power to choose our own path, to make our own decisions, and to live our lives according to our own values. One of the core Stoic principles is autokeia, which means self-sufficiency or independence. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within, from living in accordance with our own nature and not being overly reliant on external things or other people. Controlling behavior, on the other hand, is all about dependence and codependency. It's about one person trying to make another person feel like they can't survive or thrive without them. The many faces of control. Recognizing the signs. Controlling behavior can show up in many different ways, some more obvious than others. It can be subtle, like a friend who always insists on choosing where you go and what you do, or a partner who constantly criticizes your appearance or choices. It can also be more overt, like a parent who monitors your every move, a boss who micromanages your work, or a spouse who isolates you from your friends and family. The key is to recognize the underlying pattern. Is this person consistently trying to undermine your confidence, limit your choices, or make you feel like you're not good enough on your own? Are they using guilt, shame, or fear to manipulate you into doing what they want? If so, you might be dealing with a controlling personality. Real-world examples: control freaks in action. Let's take a look at some real-world examples to make this more concrete. Imagine you're in a relationship where your partner constantly checks your phone, questions your whereabouts, and gets jealous when you spend time with your friends. They might say they're just worried about you, but their behavior is actually about controlling your actions and isolating you from your support network. Or think about that overbearing parent who insists on knowing every detail of your life, from your grades to your dating life. They might guilt-trip you into following their career advice or pressure you to live up to their expectations. Their intentions might be good, but their controlling behavior can stifle your independence and prevent you from making your own choices. Controlling behavior can also show up in the workplace. Imagine a boss who micromanages your every task, constantly looking over your shoulder and criticizing your work. They might withhold information, set unrealistic deadlines, or create a culture of fear and intimidation. This kind of environment can be incredibly stressful and demoralizing, leading to burnout and resentment. The Stoic response: setting boundaries and reclaiming your power. So, how do you deal with controlling behavior? The Stoics have some wisdom for that too. First, recognize that you have the right to your own thoughts, feelings, and choices. You are not obligated to live up to anyone else's expectations or to sacrifice your own well-being for the sake of someone else's control. Second, set boundaries. Let the controlling person know what you will and will not tolerate. Be clear, firm, and consistent. Don't be afraid to say no, even if it means facing their anger or disapproval. Remember, your boundaries are a reflection of your self-respect and your commitment to living a life that's true to your own values. Third, don't engage in their power struggles. Controlling people often thrive on conflict and drama. They might try to provoke you, test your limits, or make you feel guilty for asserting your independence. Don't fall into their trap. Stay calm, stay focused, and stay true to your own values. Modern Stoicism: empowering yourself against control. In today's world, controlling behavior can be even more subtle and insidious. We might be dealing with manipulative friends, toxic family members, or even controlling algorithms on social media that try to dictate what we see and how we think. But by applying Stoic principles, we can empower ourselves to resist these influences and live more authentic, self-directed lives. For example, if you're constantly bombarded with messages about how you should look or act, remember that you are the only one who gets to define your own beauty and worth. If you're feeling pressured to conform to certain social norms or expectations, remind yourself that you have the right to be different, to think for yourself, and to live your life on your own terms. The Stoic challenge: embrace autonomy, reject control. So let's challenge ourselves to embrace our own autonomy and reject any attempts to control us. Let's cultivate self-awareness, set healthy boundaries, and stand up for our right to live free and independent lives. Remember, the Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within, from living in accordance with our own nature and not being swayed by the opinions or demands of others. So let's channel our inner Stoic and say no to controlling behavior. Let's reclaim our power, our freedom, and our right to be ourselves. Lesson 5. Pathological lying, the web of deception. Hey there, truth seekers. Today, we're shining a light on a behavior that can be incredibly destructive and erode the foundation of trust in any relationship. Pathological lying. This isn't just about the occasional white lie or fib that most of us tell from time to time. Pathological lying is a whole different ballgame. It's a chronic pattern of deception where someone consistently fabricates stories, manipulates facts, and distorts reality to suit their own needs or to gain an advantage over others. The Stoics, those wise philosophers from ancient times, would have a serious issue with this kind of behavior. They valued truth and honesty above all else, seeing them as essential virtues for living a good life. They believed that lying, even seemingly harmless white lies, was a betrayal of one's character and a violation of the natural order of things. The Stoic stance: truth, integrity, and living in accordance with nature. The Stoics were all about living in accordance with nature, which meant aligning our actions with truth and reason. They believed that our words should reflect reality, not distort it. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, emphasized the importance of living a life that's in harmony with the universe, and that includes being truthful and transparent in our dealings with others. So, when we encounter someone who lies pathologically, who seems to have a complete disregard for the truth, it's a major red flag. It's a sign that this person is not living in accordance with nature, but rather creating their own twisted reality where deception and manipulation reign supreme. The anatomy of a lie: unraveling the deception. Pathological lying can manifest in many different ways. It might start with small, seemingly insignificant lies, like exaggerating a story to make themselves look better, or claiming to have done something they haven't. But over time, these lies can escalate, becoming more elaborate and destructive. A pathological liar might fabricate entire stories about their past, their accomplishments, or their relationships. They might lie about their qualifications, their income, or their health. They might even lie about their feelings, pretending to care about you when they really don't. The reasons behind pathological lying can be complex and varied. Some people lie to gain admiration or sympathy, while others lie to avoid responsibility or consequences. Some people lie out of habit, while others lie to maintain a carefully constructed image of themselves. But regardless of the reason, the impact of pathological lying is always the same. It erodes trust, creates confusion, and leaves the victim feeling hurt, betrayed, and unsure of what to believe. Real-world examples, lies that cut deep. Let's bring this into the real world with some examples. Imagine you're dating someone who constantly lies about their whereabouts, their past relationships, or even their feelings for you. You might catch them in small lies, like saying they were working late when they were actually out with friends, or claiming to love a certain band when they've never even heard of them. These might seem like minor infractions, but they can create a sense of unease and mistrust in the relationship. Or think about that co-worker who always takes credit for your ideas, or the friend who constantly makes up stories about their exciting life to make you feel inadequate. These people are using lies to manipulate your perception of them and to gain an advantage over you. Their dishonesty can create a toxic environment where you're constantly second-guessing yourself and your own judgment. Pathological lying can also have serious consequences in professional settings. Imagine a doctor who lies about their credentials, a lawyer who fabricates evidence, or a politician who makes false promises to their constituents. These lies can have devastating consequences, harming not only individuals, but entire communities. The Stoic response: standing firm in truth. So, how do you deal with a pathological liar? The Stoics would advise us to remain grounded in truth and not allow ourselves to be swayed by the deceptions of others. They would encourage us to trust our own judgment, to seek evidence and proof, and to not be afraid to confront the liar with their dishonesty. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born into slavery, taught that we should focus on what we can control, which is our own thoughts and actions. We can't control whether someone else lies to us, but we can control how we respond to their lies. We can choose to not believe them, to not engage with them, and to not allow their dishonesty to affect our own well-being. Modern Stoicism: navigating a world of fake news and alternative facts. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with information from all sides, and it can be difficult to know what to believe. We're living in an era of fake news and alternative facts, where the truth is often obscured or distorted. But by applying Stoic principles, we can become more discerning consumers of information and more resilient in the face of deception. For example, when you see a sensational headline or a shocking claim, don't just accept it at face value. Do your own research, check your sources, and consider the motives of the person or organization sharing the information. Remember, the Stoics believed in the power of reason and critical thinking. They would encourage us to question everything, to seek evidence, and to not be afraid to challenge the status quo. The Stoic challenge: embrace honesty, reject deception. So let's make a commitment to ourselves to be more truthful, more transparent, and more honest in our dealings with others. Let's reject the culture of deception that seems to be so prevalent in our world, and let's strive to create a more authentic and trustworthy community. Remember, the Stoics believed that honesty is not just a moral imperative, it's also a practical one. When we're honest with ourselves and others, we build stronger relationships, make better decisions, and live more fulfilling lives. So, let's embrace our inner Stoic and say no to pathological lying. Let's choose to live in truth, to speak our minds, and to hold ourselves and others accountable for our words and actions. In our journey through the 5 dark traits of personality, we've discovered that evil is not just an abstract concept, but something that can manifest in the behavior of people around us. We have seen how a lack of empathy, manipulation, controlling behavior, pathological lying, and deceptive charm can cause harm to others and leave lasting scars. But remember, understanding these traits is not just about identifying evil. It's also about empowering ourselves. By recognizing these red flags, we can protect ourselves from harm and make informed decisions about who we allow into our lives. As we move forward, let's carry with us the lessons of the ancient philosophers. Let's strive to be more self-aware, more empathetic towards others, and more committed to living a virtuous life. Let's choose honesty over deceit, empathy over indifference, and freedom over control. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. There are many others who are striving to create a kinder, more compassionate world. By supporting each other and sharing our knowledge, we can make a real difference. So, go out into the world and be a beacon of goodness. Be the person who refuses to tolerate toxic behavior. Be the person who stands up for the vulnerable. Be the person who embodies the virtues we hold dear. Thank you for joining us in these explorations. We hope this series has provided you with valuable insights and practical tools for dealing with the dark traits of personality. Remember, knowledge is power, and with a bit of wisdom and awareness, we can all contribute to making the world a better place.